Hey guys, this is Hemant from Edureka. Welcome to this session on what is robotic process automation. Now, as you guys know, RPA is quite a buzzword in the industry right now, and most of you must have heard about RPA by now, right? And for those of you who are still new to the topic, guys, don't worry. I'll be discussing all about RPA in this session, and by the end of the session, I guarantee you that you'll be able to create your first automation project in any of the RPA tools. All right, so let's get on with this session. And before getting on with the session, let me show you the kind of project that you'll be able to make after this particular session. So what I'll do is I'll go to my UiPath Studio. So this is a project that I've created that I'll create again when I'll be going to the demo part of this session. But what this project will be doing is it'll read your email, it'll get the subject line of that email and search that subject line on an e-commerce platform. And whatever results that it'll be getting, it'll fetch those results from the website, put it inside an Excel file and mail you that file. All right, so for example, I want the information about all the BlackBerry phones. So I'll just write myself a mail with the subject line BlackBerry, right? And I'll then run this program, and what will happen is in the next few minutes, it'll give me back an email with all the search results of the BlackBerry phones along with the prices. Don't believe me? Let me show you how you can do it. So what I'll do is I'll go to my Gmail. So as you can see, there are no messages as of now. I'll compose an email and send it to myself with the subject line, say iPhone. Okay, so I want the information about the iPhone product. I'll send it to myself, and as you can see, I've got an email from myself with the subject line iPhone. Now I'll go to my program, I'll run this particular program, and as you can see, it'll pick the subject line of this mail, it'll open an e-commerce website, search it with that particular tag name, so that was iPhone, go to every page, extract the information from those pages, save it inside an Excel file and send it back to me, right? So it says sorry, no results found because it has reached the end of the page now, all right? So now basically just looking for any other name that it can get on the page, and once it recognizes that this was the end, it'll close this program and you can see the mail in my inbox. Let's wait for it to get processed. All right, so this was it. It got processed. Let me go to my mail to check if I've got any email. So as you can see, I've got a mail which says attachment. Let me go inside it, and as you can see, there's a file. So let me download this file and let's open this file now. So as you can see, I've got the information about all the iPhones with their price tag, and as you can see, there are around 53 iPhones which were listed on that e-commerce website, and I've got all their information just of a click of a button, right? So this tool is that powerful, and you'll be able to create this automation in just 5 minutes once you're over with this session. All right, no coding required, no prior experience. So let us go to the slide and start with the session today. So let's see what all we are going to learn in this session today. So we're going to start by first discussing why do we actually need RPA, and then move on to discuss what exactly RPA is. Once we're done with that, we'll look at different tools which can implement the RPA technology. We'll be discussing the top tools, and out of these top tools, we'll be picking up one tool that is UiPath, and we'll be discussing the basic components of that tool. Once we're done with that, we'll move on to the demo part where we'll be deploying a project, an automation project, which will be making use of email automation and data scraping. All right, so guys, this is our agenda for today. I hope it's clear to you. Let's move on to the first topic of today's discussion, that why do we need RPA? All right, so why RPA? So let's explain this using an example. As you know, every bank has this system that is called a fraud detection system. All right, so let's take the example of credit card fraud detection system. Now, any transaction that is coming in, it is judged on the basis of rules that you have designed, right? So let's consider these rules to be something like this. So for example, the last location of access of your credit card is far away from the access which is showing on the screen right now, or which is being showing in the transaction right now. So it becomes suspicious. Second, the usual amount of transaction, that maybe in a month you transact around 20 to 30,000 of cash from your credit card, but suddenly you made a transaction of 500,000, right? So that is a huge number. That also becomes suspicious. And the third rule could be that the number of trials or the number of times you entered a wrong PIN, right? So this could be that someone got hold of a credit card and he's trying to get money out of your credit card, but he's not able to get your PIN right. So this could also be a suspicious transaction, right? So if you were to judge a transaction based on these rules, one way of doing it is through the human workforce. So this human workforce was actually being used like 10, 15 or 20 years back when there was no automation system or no automation tool which was this invented, right? So there were a lot of people whose sole purpose was to investigate each and every transaction and authorize that transaction based on those rules, all right? But as and when automation came in, now 95% of those transactions are automated, and the rest 5% of those transactions are just flagged as an anomaly. Now, why are they an anomaly? Anomaly are basically the transactions which cannot be judged by the automation system. Now, you cannot program your code to judge everything, right? You cannot program your code to see the world, right? So there are always some loopholes and there are always some situations that the computer cannot judge, and that's where you need human intelligence. So this is where you will be needing your expertise and you'll be judging whether this particular transaction is fraudulent or not, right? So this basically clears it out when people ask me, it's a quite often asked question that will RPA replace the human workforce? So guys, that is not entirely true, right? It may reduce the workforce that is already existing on a project, but it will never be able to replace the human workforce which is already working, because for in every department you need that human touch, because the basic difference between a machine and a human is that machines are good in following the things that we tell them, all right? But humans are capable of thinking out of the box. They're able to think of something new, which machines are not, right? So there will always be vacancies for humans to work inside a department. All right, so let's take another example. Let's take the example of a data entry employee. So the typical job of a data entry employee is to take data from multiple sources and aggregate them inside one file, right? So basically this employee would follow the same steps each and every day for each and every iteration, right? And then save it inside one file. So he's doing the same steps every day and then getting his job done. What if we can do that? What if we can tell our computer to do those same tasks and get the same job done, right? So this guy will then automate the task. So this, we are basically automating the task by making use of a robot or a machine or an RPA tool. And now our tasks become more faster and they become more robust, they are more accurate, etc., right? So in some situations automation becomes a boon, and in some situations it could be actually a threat to your job. All right, so let me give you some facts. So according to McKinsey, by the year 2025 there'll be an impact of $5 to $7 trillion, right? $5 to $7 trillion is a huge amount of money, guys. It also says it will touch more than 230 million knowledge workers. All right, so don't get scared with this line because it says it will touch the jobs of 230 million workers. So what that basically means is that whatever tasks that you are doing today, maybe you'll not be able to do them tomorrow. Tomorrow you might be doing a different job, or a different set of tasks will be expected from your job. Right? So this is what you mean by there'll be a touching more than 230 million knowledge workers. So that is basically 9% of the global working population, right? So don't be scared with the facts, guys, but it is always good to know about all the new technologies which are coming in the world. And obviously, if you're best at what you do, nobody can replace you, all right? Having said that, let's move on and understand why RPA is relevant from a company's perspective. All right, so if I'm a CEO of the company and I have to think about implementing RPA in my company, what are the things that I'll consider? So first of all, if I'm using RPA, it saves a lot of cost because I'm downsizing my workforce with a drastic number, right? So I'll not be paying salary to a lot of employees now, and also I'm getting my work done very fast, right? So it saves cost, and like I said, it is more accurate in lesser time because machines, they do not commit mistakes, guys. They never get tired, they never commit any error, and hence they are very accurate, and that too they do each and every task in the least time possible. All right, the third point is it is easy to implement and learn. This is probably the most important point, right? To do any task you can write a code, right? So what's the point of writing thousands lines of code for a very small task? It's better to do the task on your own rather than writing thousand lines of code in it. But that's the best part about RPA. Whatever demo I showed you in the beginning of this session, it is all done using drag and drop, and it hardly takes 5 minutes to configure it. And if you don't believe me, hang on till the end of the session and I'll show you how you can do that demo. All right. So with this, guys, we have understood why did we need RPA. Let's move on to the part where we'll understand what RPA exactly is. All right, so what is RPA? So RPA, as you might have guessed, it's an acronym for Robotic Process Automation, right? So let's understand the three terms one by one. So what is robotic? Robotic is basically an entity which can be programmed to mimic human actions. So any entity which can mimic human actions on being programmed is called robotic. Then comes process. So a sequence of steps which lead to a meaningful activity. For example, you make tea, right? So to making tea, the first step would be to pour some water, let it boil, then put some tea leaves, let it boil, and then to pour some milk in it, right? Your tea is ready. So you did 3 steps, and with the help of these 3 steps, your tea is ready, right? So this becomes a process of making tea. Then comes the type automation. So what is automation? Automation basically means when a task happens automatically without human intervention. All right. So whenever a task happens without any human intervention, it becomes automation. Now, if you take the words robotic process automation, robotic means mimicking human actions to do a process without human intervention. So this is the meaning of RPA. This is what it basically means. This is the definition of RPA. All right. So now that we have understood the definition of RPA and we have understood why do we need RPA, we saw how RPA can work. Let's go on and understand the different tools using which we can actually implement the RPA technology. All right. As of now, there are 3 tools which are at the top of the ladder, which are UiPath, BluePrism, and Automation Anywhere. These are the 3 best tools in the RPA world. Now, what is the difference between these 3 tools is, let's talk in terms of licensing, guys, first. So how many of you can use it for free? So BluePrism is not free at all. They don't give you any trial version, right? You can only request the company, and maybe if they think you'll be buying this product and you just want to test it before you buy it, they might give you a trial version of 15 days, but that has to be requested from the company. You cannot directly download it from their website. All right. Same is the case with Automation Anywhere, but with Automation Anywhere, you might get a demo if you search a bit on Google, right? And in that part also you get a demo version wherein you have only 50 tasks that you can do with that demo release that you get, right? And then you have UiPath. So UiPath is a savior in this case. What they do is they offer you a community edition of their RPA tool, but that community edition is strictly for personal use. If you want to learn UiPath, if you want to get acquainted with the tools that are there in UiPath, you can use the UiPath Community Edition and learn it. And once you think that you want to implement it in your production environment, maybe in your company you want to use it, then you can go ahead and buy their license. All right. So since we want each other to learn and I want you guys to practice as much as you can, we will be discussing about UiPath in this session. All right. So let's go ahead and see what are the basic UiPath components. Right. So the UiPath components can be broadly be divided into 4 categories. So the first category is recording. When you do recording, basically what you're doing is you are not creating any flowcharts. You are not dragging and dropping any activities or any tasks that you want to do. All you're doing is you're clicking on the record button and you're doing the normal work that you do. And UiPath automatically captures whatever you're doing and replicates the same when you play the button. All right. So there is no drag and drop. There is no coding involved. You just click the button, do your daily tasks, and the computers recognizes it automatically. All right. So this is what recording does. Then comes scraping. So scraping basically means extracting data out of something and then putting it in a structured manner. All right. So this is what scraping is. You have screen scraping and then you have data scraping. Screen scraping is basically used for desktop application. Data scraping can be used for web applications as well. All right, so there are a lot of differences, but this difference is fine for today's discussion. Then we have user events. So user events are nothing but events that are done by user. For example, if you press a key on keyboard, that becomes a user event. If you click the mouse pad of your mouse, that becomes a user event, right? So these are user events which you can use in your program to do different tasks. And then in the end, you have variables. So variables are a very important part of any sequence that you are creating, guys. Right, so variables basically act as mediators, or they act as a bridge between 2 activities or 2 things that are happening at a different level. All right, even they help in data manipulation as well. All right, so guys, these are basically the components of UiPath. We will be focusing on activities and scraping today. So let's go and see what is the problem statement of our hands-on, right? So like I said, I already showed you the app. So what we'll be doing is we'll be creating an application which will read the email, right? It'll take the subject line of that email, it'll put it inside the search query of an e-commerce website, get the results, extract the results from the scraping technique and put it inside a CSV format file, save it and send it back to me via email. All right, so now this sounds like a daunting task. It might seem like it'll take a lot of time, but it'll hardly take 5 to 6 minutes to do it if you were to implement it in UiPath. Let me show you how. All right, so I'll quickly jump to my tool, which is here. I'll click on new sequence. Let's name the sequence as demo and click on create. All right, so I've got my new sequence. So the first thing that I want to do is get an email. All right, but before all of that, guys, I want to first show you how you can extract data from website, because I know it's pretty interesting to learn for the first time how the data is extracted from a website, right? So let me show you how you can do it. So first you have to click on data scraping. All right, so before that you have to open the website from which you want to scrape the data from. For example, I want to scrape it from flipkart.com. So I'll go to flipkart.com, I'll open this page and say I want to search for BlackBerry. All right, so I'll enter BlackBerry phones. All right, I'll get the list over here and I want to scrape the data out of this page. So what I'll do is I'll go back to my tool, I'll click on data scraping and it'll give me a wizard, right? So it wants me to select an element that I want to extract from the web page. So I'll click on next and select that elements. For example, I want the name to be extracted. So I'll click on the name and now it'll ask me to select some other item's name as well so that it can see the pattern and can replicate it throughout all the products in the page, so that it gets the names of all the products in the page, right? So now I'll be clicking on one more name, so I click on next, I'll select one more name and then it gets it. It is now asking me the name that I want to give it to the column, so I'll just give it name, right? And do I want the URL for this particular product as well? Yes, I can extract the URL as well, and let's name the column as URL. All right, I'll click on next and as you can see it has extracted all the names of the product which are there on this page as well as their URL. All right, so now I want the prices as well. So what I'll do is I'll click on extract correlated data. I'll click on the price. Now it'll ask me to select one more price so that it can form a pattern. I'll click on next and then select the second price as well. And now it'll ask me to name the column. Let me name it as column that I want to get. Let's click on next. And as you can see, it extracted the prices as well. Right? It's pretty cool. And it's very easy to implement as well. Now I'll click on finish and it'll ask me, is the data spanning across multiple pages? So if there are a lot of pages in this website, it can actually go to each page to see if there are more products, right? So it has to be specified how this particular program can go to the next page. So we have to specify the button over here for the next page. So the button is here, right? So I'll click on yes and I'll click on next, right? Done. My data scraping tool is ready, right? So now this data scraping tool has to save this file inside a CSV, right? Do that, what I'll do is I have to go to activities and I have to search for an activity called write CSV, right? When you search for this activity, you'll get this particular event. You can drag and drop it here. And now it'll ask the file path where you want it to be saved. So let's select the file path. Let's name the file as say Edureka demo. All right, let's save it. And now it'll ask the data source from where it'll get all the information. So when you are extracting all the data from this particular website, it is getting saved in this particular variable. In the output section, you'll find data table. This is the variable in which all your data is going in. All right, so this variable has to be specified here. So let's specify it. It's extract data table. We'll specify it and our job is done, guys. So let's run it once to see if our information is being extracted. We'll run it and let's see what it does. All right, it has went to the last page And when you go to the last page, basically you see that sorry, no results found. That basically means that it has passed through all the pages. Now let's wait for it to get finished. All right, so program is completed. Let's go inside the file and check if we can see our Excel file over there. All right, so here it is, Edureka Demo CSV. Let's open it. So as you can see, the information has been extracted. Cool, right? So now what we'll be doing is we'll be adding the email automation part to it. So let's see how we can go about it. So as of now, my data scraping tool is capable of going to Flipkart, search for BlackBerry, get the results, and store it inside a CSV format. But what I want to do is I want to do custom search. That is, I want to take the data out from my email, take that particular subject line, and then search it on Flipkart. Let's see how we can do that. So first what I'll do is I will search for mail, and I want to get the incoming mail, right? So there's a protocol called IMAP. So I'll drag and drop the IMAP activity over here, right? That is in the beginning. And then I have to configure this, right? So how I can configure this is something like this. So basically I will click on the activity and I'll get the properties page on here on the right side. So on the right side now I'll have to first give the port numbers. The port number for IMAP protocol, it's 993. All right. So once I've specified 993, I'll have to give the server name as well. Right. Now any string that you give inside your UiPath, it has to be enclosed inside double quotes. All right. So the string is imap.gmail.com. All right. So this is the address of your server. Now it will ask you for your email and password. So let's create a variable for your email and password. We will go to this pane, that is variables. We will click on create variable. We'll create a variable called email and we'll create a variable called password. All right. Let's feed the information over here. So like I said, double quotes are there. We'll enter in double quotes my email ID. And you have to specify the password as well. So let's specify the password as well. That is it. So now these variables have the password and the email ID. Let's pass it to our IMAP activity. So I'll specify the variable over here and password over here. Guys, when you're specifying the variables, you don't need the double quotes anymore. All right. Let's see what else we have to configure. So if we are reading the email, we want to be marked as read. I want to read only one email from the top. Let's specify one. And the output of the mails. All right. So whatever you're getting from your mail, where do you want to store it? You have to store it inside a variable, right? So that variable is of list type because you can extract as many mails as you want, right? So for the very reason, we have to create a list of mail messages. All right. So the variable should be of the type of list of mail messages. So let's create a variable of that sort. We'll click on create variable. Let's name this variable as mail message. Now let's select the type of this mail message. So we'll browse for types and we will search for list. All right. Under systems.collections.generic, you'll find list of T. We'll select it. Now what is T? We have to define it here. That is mail message. So I'll go to the drop down, go for browse with types and search for mail over here. And inside system.net.mail, I'll find mail message property. I'll just click on OK. And as you can see, it'll be a list of mail messages. I'll click on OK and the type automatically becomes that. Now I have to specify this variable name in the properties of my IMAP activity. So let me specify the variable here and that is it. So my IMAP is now configured to receive emails. Let's check, right? So now let's check if I am able to search for it. But now I'll not be able to search for it because I'm not passing the information anywhere else, right? So I have to parse the emails that I'm getting right now. So for that, I have to use an activity called for each, right? So for each mail, I have to do something. For each mail, I have to get the information, right? So there is only one mail that I'm getting right now, but for any future users, you'll be using for each, right? So I'll drag and drop for each over here and it'll ask me for each what in dash, right? So in dash basically is the variable that I'm getting from my mail. So that is mail message, right? For each mail in mail message, you have to do something. Now this is mail. How will this for each attribute know that this variable that I've entered here is of the type mail? So for that you have to click on it and go to properties, and inside the type argument, what the type of argument you have to specify as mail. All right, so I'll go here and I will select mail message. All right, so now it identifies that this argument is of the type mail message, and it is looking inside the variable which is of the type list of mail messages. All right, sounds logical. Now what it'll do is it'll execute anything that is inside this body time and again each time it receives a mail from its list. Alright, so inside this list now I have to open a browser which will point towards my custom searched page. Now for that what I'll be doing is I'll quickly go to my e-commerce website, alright, and let me search for say any product. Let us search for say iPhone, right? And I will copy this link and let me go here, search a property called open browser, all right, and drag and drop it here. So basically now whenever it finds a mail inside the list of mail messages, it will open a browser and it will point to this particular address. Now again, the address, since it's a string, it has to be included inside double quotes. All right, now again it is searching only for iPhone, but I want to change the search term, remember? So what I'll do is I will close the quotes here and I'll open the quotes here, and this thing I'll change it into a variable. All right, so basically for mail in mail messages, I want the subject of this particular mail that I'm getting from the list of mail messages. All right, so I'll write mail dot and then I'll get all the properties over here. So basically I want the subject of the mail, so I'll select subject. All right, and now it'll get the subject of that mail and it'll replace it over here in the search query. So basically what has happened till now is that it'll read the mail, it'll store everything inside a list of mail messages. Now I'm going through each of those mails and doing something over here. All right, so now every time there is an error inside your workflow, it is recognized by this exclamation sign. All right, so this exclamation sign tells me that something is wrong inside my activity. Let's see what is that. So if I go here, it says that there is something wrong with my link over here. So let me see what is wrong. All right, so basically I'll have to add plus here. That signifies that I'm adding something to this URL. So as you see, the blue thing has gone, and if I click here, every warning has been gone. All right, so for appending the variable to your already existing link, you have to add plus, telling that add this thing in the whole of the string. All right, so now it'll go to that custom link, whatever I've specified in the mail, and it'll do what? I want it to do data scraping on that. All right, so I've already defined data scraping. I've done it on for Flipkart, right? So what I'll do is I will just remove the part where it specifies that I have to go to the BlackBerry page, right? So what I'll do is I'll extract the do part out from here and maybe paste it here, and then go up and delete this part, attach browser, and again put it back inside my data scraping. All right, seems fixed. Now I'll put this data scraping part inside my do of my open browser, so that whenever the browser opens, it gets to know that it has to do data scraping on this particular website that it got from this particular link. All right, so let's see if we have something extra here. All right, so let's delete this. We don't need it anymore. All right, seems functional. Let's rename this as demo. Fine. So now it is getting everything. So we already are getting it inside Edureka demo.csv. Now we have to mail it back to me. All right. So as of now, it'll take the email, it'll get the search query, it'll search it, it'll save it inside the CSV, but I'm still not getting it back as an attachment. For that, you have to go here and search for SMTP protocol, and you have to drag and drop it over here. All right. So once that is done, you have to specify whom do you want to send the mail to. So I want it to be sent to me. So I'll give the variable here. Subject, what should be the subject? So let the subject be attachment information or something like query, right? And then the body, let's keep it as please find attached. All right. And now let's attach the files. So we will attach the files. You have to enter the file path over here. So let's go to our files. This is the location. Let's copy it and paste it here inside quotes, obviously, and then specify the name of the file as well. All right. So it'll pick the file from this particular address and send a mail to me. But again, you have to configure your SMTP as well. So same as the case you did in IMAP, in SMTP as well, you have to specify the port number. So the port number for SMTP protocol is it's 465, right? And the server name is smtp.gmail.com, all right? And it'll ask me for the email. So email is inside my variable. Same is the case with password as well, all right? Who will it send it to? It will send it to me. Whom is it from? It is again from me. All right. So you can actually create an advanced version of this, play around with it, create an advanced version, and that is it. And I think that is all. So as you can see, there are no errors in our sequence. So that basically means I can execute it now. So let's go to my email and let's try to search something. Let's try to search for TVs, right? So let's try to search for a particular brand of TV called View TV, all right? So whenever in the search query you are trying to add something, for every space you have to specify %20. So basically I want to search for View TV. So since there's a space, I have to specify %20 because that's how in any link that you see in the browser, you don't have spaces. So instead of spaces, you have %20. All right, so I'll specify view %20 TV and I'll send it to myself. If I refresh it, I can see there's a mail over here, right? And if I go inside my project now, let's try and run our program now. So it'll open the Flipkart page. As you can see, it got to the view TV page. It spanned through all the pages. It came to the end of the page. Now it is processing it, putting it inside the Excel file, and then it will mail me across. Let's see how that goes. All right, so our process is now complete. Let's go to my mail to check if I've got something. Yes, so I've got a mail. Let's download this file and check if we have got anything inside it. So yes, as you can see, I've got the product name, the URL of the product, and the price of that product as well. Awesome guys, so we have successfully created our project. Congratulations on your first automation project. I would suggest you to try it on your own as well so that you get acquainted with the software. So have a good day ahead and goodbye.